Hello, I'm Gary Cartwright. I'm the editor of EU Today. I'm here today in Brussels at the Embassy of Bangladesh, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to, indeed honoured, to be able to interview the ambassador from Bangladesh, His Excellency Mahbub Hassan Saleh. Mahbub, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us today. I want to ask you some questions really about the relationship between Bangladesh and the EU. I'd like your personal perspective based on your 3.5 years now that you've been in office. And I'd really like to start with the recent elections in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh, I would argue, has been successful because of stability that it's enjoyed over the years, particularly under the governance of the Awami League. And there was a little bit of stress before the last elections, as there is always. But the elections went very well, didn't they? What would you like to say about those elections, first of all?
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, first of all, for the opportunity and taking the trouble of coming to the embassy. It's always a pleasure to welcome friends. To talk about Bangladesh-EU partnership, which is 51 years old now. In fact, exactly 51 years. It was May 1973 when the formal diplomatic relationship was established between Bangladesh and the European Union, when the government of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was in office in Bangladesh. It's a half a century old journey, and the partnership is growing every day. We'll come to that later, but as you have asked about the latest election, it went very well, and it was observed by many international observers. The turnout was more than 40%. And the election was held in a very free, fair, and credible manner. It was very transparent. And the members of parliaments from different parties, of course, as you know, some parties didn't participate. It's their choice in a democracy. But what I feel that anywhere in the world, the responsible political parties should participate in the electoral process and prove their worth, whether they have the mandate from the people, whether they have the support from the people or not. So after the elections, of course, the very first visit to Brussels by a cabinet minister was the foreign minister of Bangladesh. It was within 3 weeks of the oath-taking ceremony of the cabinet in Dhaka. So the foreign minister participated in the third EU Indo-Pacific Ministerial in Brussels in early February. And apart from that, he engaged in bilateral meetings with 2 EU commissioners, the Commissioner for International Partnership and the Commission for Crisis Management, and met with 7 foreign ministers of different EU member states. So it was an extremely engaging visit for the new foreign minister, who was also in the cabinet for quite some time. He was the immediate past information and broadcasting minister. Dr. Hassan Mahmud, a member of parliament. And if you want me to focus on my experience in last almost 3.5 years, in fact, in next 4 days, I'll complete 3 years and 6 months. So I arrived at a very challenging time for the whole world, absolutely in the middle of the pandemic. I came from Washington and arrived in Brussels, to be very precise, on 28th of November 2020. It was an extremely difficult and challenging time for the whole world, and we had to operate everything, almost everything virtually. of course, after a few months, things improved, and we tried to go back to our normal human interactions and engagements. So if I look back, I would say it has been so far an extremely enriching and rewarding experience. I had a few things in mind when I arrived in Brussels as ambassador and head of mission of Bangladesh to the European Union. I'm actually the bilateral ambassador to Belgium, and I'm accredited to the European Union, and I'm also the non-resident ambassador to Luxembourg. So let's talk about the EU today, as you have asked. The journey that we started in 1973 with the European Union was primarily a development cooperation partnership, Gary, And over the years, because you know the history of Bangladesh, we became independent through a very bloody war of liberation in 1971 under the leadership of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So 3 million people were killed by the Pakistan military and their local collaborators. More than 200,000 of our mothers and sisters were violated. 10 million people out of a total of 75 million in 1971 fled the country and took refuge in India. Almost 30 million were internally displaced. So that was the magnitude of our sacrifice to earn our independence. So it was absolutely a war-ravaged country when the Bangladesh and EU diplomatic relationship was established in May 1973. Naturally, the development cooperation was the major pillar of the partnership. Over the years, what we have been able to achieve and what it is today is a robust trade partnership. Bangladesh and EU two-way trade is $28 billion. And we, as you know, Gary, we are the second largest manufacturers and exporter of the ready-made garment and apparel in the world. So our export basket to the European Union is dominated by that naturally. And the total export of Bangladesh to the European Union is $25 billion. And this accounts for almost 45% of Bangladesh's total global export. So it's literally a robust trade partnership, as you can imagine. As a least developed country, Bangladesh was offered the everything but arms trade privilege under the GSP scheme of the European Union. Bangladesh is all set to graduate from the least developed countries category in 2026. And EU has again been very generous in extending this trade privilege to all the graduating LDCs, including Bangladesh, for 3 more years. That is till 2029. And after that, of course, the graduating countries, including Bangladesh, would apply for the GSP Plus, and it would be assessed. And I have no doubt that the way things are progressing in Bangladesh and the partnership between Bangladesh and EU is moving forward. Bangladesh would, in all likelihood, get the GSP Plus trade privilege post 2029. Other than the ready-made garment and apparel, we are diversifying our export basket. We export frozen food. We export a lot of shrimps to the EU. We export leather goods, jute goods, ceramic ware, light engineering products, a number of, I'm sure a number of bicycle riders who enjoy riding bicycles in different countries in Europe have their bicycles made in Bangladesh. So ICT or IT is another area where we are doing very well. We have more than 700,000 freelance IT experts in Bangladesh, and that number is increasing really fast. So they're working with countries of the EU as well. Pharmaceutical industry, shipbuilding industry, these are emerging industries for the immediate future in Bangladesh. Joint venture is taking place between Bangladesh and some EU member states in the area of engineering products, in the area of renewable energy, particularly because we have set a target, our government under the leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that by 2021, Bangladesh would generate 40% of its power from clean sources. So that's a very ambitious target. We are very mindful of that. At the same time, we are determined to achieve that target as well. And as you know, Europe is a great place for renewable energy, whether it's solar or wind or offshore wind. So we are doing solar in a big way. We are also now going into the domain of wind energy. There are challenges because, as you know, Gary, Bangladesh is a country which has a very small landmass, 148,000 square kilometers. But we are the 8th largest population in the world. It's nearly unbelievable to many of my friends, particularly in the West, including Europe, that Bangladesh has 170 million people. And if you go by the percentage, that is almost 38% of the total population of EU 27 member states.
Okay.
So that's interesting, I'm sure. So with this, of course, we had enormous challenges immediately after the War of Liberation. It was an absolutely war-ravaged country, as I said before, no infrastructure, no economy. So from there, our founding father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, literally started from the scratch. And then after 3 years and 7 months, we had the darkest chapter in our history when our founding father and most of the members of his family were brutally assassinated by some terrorists from the military, 15th August 1975. And all the values and morals on which we fought our just war of liberation, primarily the democracy, secularism, justice and equality, those were sent to the refrigerator. And the country started walking backwards under the military dictatorship. So in 1981, the current Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, who was one of the 2 members of his family who survived, because Sheikh Hasina and her younger sister, Sheikh Rehana, they were abroad on 15th August 1975. So, in fact, on that very day, they were in Belgium, in Brussels, because Prime Minister Hasina joined her husband, who was a renowned nuclear scientist and doing his postdoctoral research in Germany. So Sheikh Hasina and her 2 young children and her younger sister, they came to Germany. And then just for a visit, they came to Belgium the day before. And then on 15th August, this happened. And for 6 years, the current Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, was leading the life of a refugee, basically. She and her younger sister. Then in 1981, she returned to Bangladesh, facing all the odds, braving all the odds, and then started her struggle to lead her party and to engage with the mass people of Bangladesh. And in 1996, she was elected Prime Minister for the first time. And then again in 2009, 2014, 2018, and 2024 January, the last time. So this is her fifth term as the Prime Minister and the fourth consecutive term. And as you have rightly said, there has been tremendous socio-economic development under the visionary and dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Her target was to create a digital Bangladesh by 2021. We achieved it. Target was to lead Bangladesh to a lower middle income country. By 2021, we achieved it much earlier. So we are already in the middle income category. We're a lower middle income country. Our next target is to become an upper middle income country by 2031 and a developed country that is to achieve a per capita income of $12,000 in nominal terms by 2041. So she always has a vision. Whenever she and her party declared the election manifesto, the objectives, the targets are very clearly defined. So 2041, in the last election, she made it very clear that she wants to build a smart Bangladesh by 2041. And when she says that it would be a smart Bangladesh, not in terms of digital technology only, the technological advancement, the literacy rate, the other indicators of social development, economic development, a modern Bangladesh with great infrastructure. She has already completed a substantial part of that journey. If you visit Bangladesh today, you will see one of the longest bridges over the river Padma. It's an international river flowing from India to Bangladesh, and it's a 6.15 kilometer long bridge over the river Padma. And this is particularly, I'm mentioning this because it is not only one of the longest in the world, the river itself is the most difficult river to manage in the world. It is the second most difficult river in the world after Amazon. So the river training was a real challenge for Bangladesh before going for building this mega infrastructure. In the capital city, we have now the metro that is easing the traffic jam to some extent. We are building, and half the project is already operational, which is the expressway. We are extending very recently. The government has decided to extend the metro to a place outside Dhaka city. There are a few other MRT, that is mass rapid transport projects inside the capital and also outside. We have built the very first tunnel under the river in southern Bangladesh, which is Bangabandhu Tunnel under the river Karnafuli, which was inaugurated 6 months back. This is the first in South Asia. So a lot of projects, mega projects, have already been completed, and a number of those are in the pipeline. We have launched our first satellite, Bangabandhu Satellite 1, in 2018. We're trying to lessen our dependence as much as possible and as quickly as possible on fossil fuel. So we're looking for renewable sources, clean sources. It's primarily solar and wind, as I said. We are also thinking about having a sub-regional hydropower project involving our immediate neighbors like Bangladesh, India, Bhutan, and Nepal. We have one hydropower project that was built long ago. we have plenty of waters, plenty of rivers, as you know, Gary, but the problem is for hydropower projects, you need the elevation as well, not only plenty of water. Nuclear is another option we are also going for. So it's going to be, it's already a modern Bangladesh. It's going to be a modern and a knowledge-based society, a developed country, a smart country by 2041. That is our target. Now, how EU is supporting Bangladesh in this developmental journey of ours. I have already spoken about the trade and development cooperation, and the partnership is now growing much beyond that. We have launched a political dialogue between Bangladesh and the European Union in 2022. The first one was held in Dhaka. We have launched a dedicated climate dialogue because Bangladesh, as you know, is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. And Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been very vocal, not only in the COP, but also in other UN and international fora, including the UN General Assembly. We are not the polluters. We didn't create this problem, but we are actually the victim of this climate catastrophe. Mm-hmm. So her voice has been very clear that the $100 billion that is required every year to address the challenges of climate change, and she made it very clear that 50% of that should go for adaptation and the remaining 50% for mitigation. In addressing the climate changes, we have undertaken a number of programs, and we are one of the first countries in the world, and in particular from the least developed countries, Bangladesh was the first one to generate its own climate fund entirely from its own resources. So flood and cyclone were the two things the international community knew about Bangladesh, say, even 25 years back. So when the image of Bangladesh was portrayed by the international media, it was poverty, flood, cyclone. That has totally changed. The Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been able to create a totally different modern image for Bangladesh. When you talk about Bangladesh today, the first thing that I hear from my friends in the international community, particularly in the West, is how generous Bangladesh has been in sheltering 1.2 million forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals, Rohingyas, since August 2017. Excuse me. This is a unique example of generosity for a country like Bangladesh, which is graduating only in 2026. The burden on Bangladesh from this crisis is increasing every day. I mean, we're certainly not a rich country. 5.5% people out of 170 million are still living in extreme poverty, despite the tremendous efforts by the government of Bangladesh, and of course with the support from development partners like the European Union and others. But we still have a long way to go. We have challenges. We are addressing the challenges one after another. EU has been a very steady partner in our developmental journey and also in the Rohingya crisis. Very steady. Other than humanitarian assistance, the European Union has also imposed some sanctions on Myanmar military officials and entities. So far, the Rohingyas, none of the Rohingyas has volunteered to go back. Bangladesh has maintained its position from the very beginning that it will not force any Rohingya to go back. It would be voluntary. For the Rohingyas to have a better way of living, we have spent more than $330 million from our own resources to develop an island, Bhasan Char, with modern facilities, whether it's accommodation or cyclone shelter or the healthcare facility or the education facility from the Rohingya for the Rohingyas in Myanmar curriculum, the embankment to prevent and protect the people from the flood and cyclones. All we have built from our own resources. And there also the relocation of the Rohingyas from Cox's Bazar camp, which is extremely overcrowded, to Bhasan Char is voluntary. After climate change, we can talk about the migration and connectivity issues, and renewable energy in particular, focusing on the Global Gateway Forum that took place last year in October. Now, migration, as you know, Gary, is a very sensitive and sometimes politically sensitive issue anywhere in the world. So to facilitate the legal migration, legal pathway to migration to the EU member states, and also to take back the illegal people after verification of the antecedents, we have a mechanism in place, and that's working pretty well. And Bangladesh is now one of the partner countries of the European Union with whom the EU has developed talent partnerships, and through which the skilled migration, I mean low skill, medium level skill, and also high-end people like, say, for example, the construction supervising engineers, IT professionals are also going to be able to come and work in different EU countries depending on their requirements. Because as you know, I mean, EU has a huge demand for workforce in different areas. In many countries, caregivers are required, truck drivers are required, nurses are required. So we are in dialogue with the European Union. What are the categories of skills where Bangladesh has the capacity to provide the skilled human resources? So that way, I'm sure the people who sometimes take the dangerous routes to migrate to Europe and many other places, they would also be discouraged when they will see that there are legal ways to migrate to European Union and live and work and live there. Connectivity is an issue where South Asia actually lags behind many other regions in the world. So we're putting emphasis on that, particularly under the initiative which is BBI in Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. And we are not only going for the physical connectivity or infrastructure connectivity like roads, railways, or river connectivity, and even coastal shipping, but we are also connecting our power grids. Mm-hmm. And the very first power grid connectivity in South Asia took place between Bangladesh and India 11 years ago, and that was in 2013. So that's an area where we have tremendous potentials. We have plenty of water in the sub-regional. Some of the countries like Nepal and Bhutan have the elevation also. So we are now thinking about, as I said at the beginning, a joint hydropower generation facility, and European Union, including European Investment Bank, also have interest in that. Sustainable infrastructure and renewable energy are the two major areas where European Investment Bank has their investment. Now, if you look at the Global Gateway Forum, where Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was invited by the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and she accepted the invitation, participated, and as we all have seen, I mean, in the plenary, she stole the show. She went beyond the written script and urged the global leadership to stop the wars anywhere in the world. We have a very peace-centric and humane foreign policy. It was articulated by our founding father in very simple words: friendship to all and malice towards none. Bangladesh has been a leading troop contributors to UN peacekeeping operations for the last 3.5 decades. We were always between first and the fourth place in terms of troops contribution. Currently, we are number one. And when Sheikh Hasina was a prime minister for the first time, in 1999, under her guidance, vision, and leadership, a culture of peace resolution was introduced to the United Nations General Assembly. And it was unanimously accepted in the General Assembly. And since 1999, Gary, it has been approved, accepted, and adopted in the General Assembly, the culture of peace resolution, till last year. And I'm sure that it will continue in the next General Assembly and even after that. So Bangladesh's position regarding its foreign policy is very clear. We want peace, and it's a very peace-centric and humane, I would again say, peace-centric and humane foreign policy. And we have proved it by sheltering the 1.2 million Rohingyas, not engaging in any kind of physical engagements with any of our neighbors. We have resolved our land border issues with India, and we have also resolved our maritime boundary issues with India and Myanmar through the UN mechanisms, and absolutely peacefully. So Bangladesh never started any war against anyone, and Bangladesh will never do that. So we are absolutely for peace, and that's the call that the Prime Minister makes in the international forum, wherever she goes and speaks. Now, we decided to partner with the European Union in the Global Gateway Initiative very early. You know, it's a rather new initiative of the European Union, and it came after the announcement of the EU's Indo-Pacific strategy. We have decided to partner with the European Union in the Global Gateway Initiative, and under which, as you know, EU is generating 300 billion euros in 7 years. And the European Investment Bank, which has been working with Bangladesh for almost 25 years now, they were funding different kinds of projects, including railway, water treatment, energy, healthcare. So we decided to partner with the European Investment Bank at the same time through the Global Gateway with the European Commission. And eventually what transpired was an excellent financial package comprising 350 million euros of loan from European Investment Bank to Bangladesh in the renewable energy sector, primarily solar and also some wind. And with that $350 million came 45 million, euro. I correct myself. 350 million euro loan from EIB, and added to that was 45 million euros of investment grant from the European Commission through the Global Gateway Initiative. And the Team Europe approach also played its part there. The German GIZ provided $7 million euros, and another 5 million was added by the European Commission. So altogether, it was 350 plus 57 million. That is 407 million euros. So the grant part was more than 16% of the loan. It was a very attractive and a win-win sort of package for both. And it was signed, the loan and the grant agreements were signed when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina visited Brussels in October last year. So Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and President von der Leyen both were present, and with the presence of one of the vice presidents of the EIB. And when Prime Minister Hasina visited Brussels, it was not only for the Global Gateway Forum. She had an excellent bilateral meeting with President von der Leyen. She had an excellent bilateral meeting with the Belgian Prime Minister in Brussels. And the then Luxembourg Prime Minister was also in Brussels for the Global Gateway Forum. So there was a bilateral meeting with the Luxembourg Prime Minister as well. And 3 commissioners, including the Executive Vice President Dombrovskis, the Commissioner for Crisis Management, the Commissioner for International Partnership, the then Vice President Nicola Beer of the European Parliament, who is now the Vice President of the European Investment Bank. They met with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. It was an extremely engaging and successful visit after quite some time. And the interest in the EU about Bangladesh and to take the partnership to a new level was reflected by the EU and also by Bangladesh when they jointly announced, President von der Leyen and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after their bilateral meeting, that the negotiation for a new partnership and cooperation agreement, PCA, would be launched very soon. So within a few months, we will see that the negotiation of the new partnership and cooperation agreement will commence. So I think in last 3.5 years, we have been able to take the partnership to a new level. A number of commissioners visited Bangladesh. Official level visits are taking place on a regular basis. A number of ministers, including Foreign Minister, State Minister for Foreign Affairs from Bangladesh, and other ministers also visited Bangladesh. But the highest point in our partnership was certainly the visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina upon invitation from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in October 2023. I'm happy, I'm satisfied, Gary, but I'm not complacent. There is a lot more, there are a lot of things to do. And EU and Bangladesh, I would say the Bangladesh-EU partnership is a very mature partnership. And it's growing in a number of important areas. Another area is a security cooperation, because maritime security is an area where we both have interests, common interests. So that's another area we are working very closely. We are partner with the EU in the Crimario project. Mm-hmm. So in whatever area that is of interest to Bangladesh and EU, together we are moving ahead with that. And with the new partnership and cooperation agreement, I believe it will actually reach a new height. No doubt about it, because this is an agreement which is quite comprehensive. And as we say in diplomacy, it covers the entire gamut of our bilateral partnership. What else?
I think that, with Global Gateway, I think that Sheikh Hasina and Ursula von der Leyen standing together on stage was a very powerful statement. I think that bodes well for the future. It was an incredible event. I know that you put a lot of work into that. And
it's my job.
It was Sheikh Hasina, it's the first time I had actually seen her in person, and I'm not sure when she was previously in Brussels prior to that, but
13 years ago.
13 years. She came over as strong and competent, but then showed another side when she spoke about her family.
Absolutely.
And that must have taken some courage to stand up.
If you remember, Gary, when she asked the global leadership, please stop this war.
That's
the entire auditorium full of, heads of government, heads of state, the ministers, they applauded. Right. It was for about 15, 20 seconds. I was present. And everybody after that event, even in the High Representative's dinner, I was accompanying our then foreign minister. Everyone was coming to us, my foreign minister, the then foreign minister, and myself, and talked about, Mahbub, your prime minister made a very passionate, delivered a very passionate speech. She spoke from the heart. So she actually speaks from the heart and the head, both. So this is a unique combination, I would say, because the kind of trauma she has gone through in her own life, she can relate those with the persecuted people in the world, with the distressed people of the world even today. And that was one of the reasons. She made it very clear when she decided to open the border in 2017 for these persecuted Rohingyas by their own Myanmar military. Open the border, allow these people to come and save their lives. Remember what India did in 1971 for 10 million Bengalis from Bangladesh. So we would do the same. And the most powerful message, in my personal opinion, at that time, Gary, was when she said, if we can feed 165 million people in 2017, if we can feed 165 million people, we can feed 1 more million. That, in my understanding, is an extremely powerful, politically bold, at the same time, extraordinarily humane message from a statesman. That's like a statesman. And she proves every day that she is the daughter of the founding father who had a vision of building golden Bengal. In Bangla, we say Shonar Bangla. She is actually building that. And in 2041, her vision is to make smart Bangladesh. And I think we're on the right track. And Bangladesh-EU partnership is an excellent example. I say even in public that this is a partnership that can be showcased as a model to the world, that what a successful partnership can do. And we are extremely thankful and grateful to the European Union for its understanding of the ground realities of Bangladesh and support Bangladesh in addressing those. That's the spirit of a real mature partnership. Look, we have to understand each other. I never say that we don't have challenges or problems. We do have problems. We do have enormous challenges with 170 million people. But think about it, the way we have managed the COVID-19 pandemic with our own resources and with the help of the international partners, including the European Union. If you look at the casualty rate, compared to the size of the population, it was very, very low. We were one of the first countries in our region to start the vaccination. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the crisis management, even the disaster management, the casualty figures from a cyclone, 30 years back, or 35 years back, was more than 100,000. Today, we have been able to bring it down to almost single digit. Every human life is precious. Our target ideally is to bring it down to zero. But we have been able to address the challenges of natural disaster to a great extent. And we are more than happy to share it with the partner countries. And EU and Bangladesh and EU have decided to collaborate on this disaster management protocol and practices to the next level. Because I think we both have a lot to share.
Mahbub, you paint a very optimistic picture there. I think that we have very good grounds for optimism. The relationship is very strong. I want to thank you very much for your time today. I know that you're very busy. And it's been a great honour, actually, to get a chance to hear your personal thoughts on this. Although we've met many times, it's the first time we've ever managed to sort of go into such detail. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you, Gary. And as you have said, I can only echo once more that it is a very optimistic scenario. And I have what I have said, it is realistically optimistic. I'm not trying to portray a scenario which is far from the reality, not at all. Absolutely. It is a very realistic, optimistic scenario, and we have a lot more to achieve. But what we have achieved, Bangladesh and EU, through its partnership so far, I think we both can be proud of it. And we will make our people more and more proud in the days ahead.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you very much.